Our next guest is indeed Congressman Joe Sestak, candidate for Senate in Pennsylvania, and of course has served this country in the military. And it is always great having him on the show. Congressman, welcome back.
Jeff, thanks for having me, even though I'm a few moments late here.
No worries. I understand. All right. Quickly, there have been, unfortunately, some Democrats joining all the Republican, in my opinion, Neanderthals, in opposing this deal of peace. Anybody like yourself who has fought in wars and understands the real price of battle, I can understand why we're not giving peace a chance. Your thoughts on why this is an important vote and to vote to support the President and Secretary Kerry?
The number one duty of the President or Congress, particularly the United States Senate, is the defense of our nation, our national security. That does not mean playing whack-a-mole, so to speak, with our military around the world. What it means is the military is on the table as an option, but it's the back of the table. And diplomacy should lead our efforts to resolve issues prior to having to use the youth of our nation. This agreement with Iran stops them from having a capability within 30 days from today, if they wanted to, enough bomb-grade material for a nuclear weapon. It sets them back on their heels 1 year, with inspectors to go on the ground that are tripled in number, and with the most advanced technology being placed and monitored around Iran. This is the right way to approach it. If they cheat, we can push them back in, or the military option is not off the table. That's why I believe those like Senator Toomey in my party and others in the Republican Party and others in my own party who say, wow, just give more crippling sanctions, bring Iran even further down on its knees, don't understand that only with Russia and China helping on these international sanctions have they been successful at bringing Iran to the table. Russia and China and even the European Union will not remain at the sanction table if we come back now and say, let's just double down a little bit more. That's why this agreement is important. It's for ours and Israel's security.
Congressman, I know you're on a tight schedule. If you could stay through the break, it's about 3 minutes. We're glad to have you finish this up. Congressman Joe Sestak, again, candidate for Senate in Pennsylvania. If you are a Democrat, if you are independent, if you are a Republican, this is a race that you have to get engaged with. If you were listening to us online today at RevolutionRadioNetwork.com and you have either thought about living in Pennsylvania or not, you got to vote for Joe Sestak. It is important, folks. This man is a real thing, and it's really important that he gets a seat at the United States Senate. Congressman, I want to talk to you about the role of senators and how this is, outrageous by the 47 who signed this letter, by the Republicans who signed this letter, and, of course, a couple of Democrats, Senator Menendez, Senator Schumer, who are going along with the Republicans on this. It to me, is a disgrace because the idea of politics that, it used to be foreign policy was a nonpartisan thing. We're all in this together. But, when you have, and I think there's going to be enough Democrats, thankfully, that will be able to hold the fort in the override of the president. But it's a shame that it's come down to this. You served with Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and Greens in the military. Nobody asked, if you were a Democrat or Republican when it was time to get into the foxhole or, the time to, avoid danger in Vietnam or wherever. Talk to me about that if you can.
I will. There's two issues here. The overarching one really is the dearth, the absence, the deficit that we have in the United States Senate on both sides of those who truly understand and have heft in foreign and military policy. We just don't have those individuals, those titans of national security any longer. There are those that may try to speak in terms of what's important, but as you mentioned, in that letter that went to the Ayatollah, someone who has said death to America, to where 47 Republican senators said, just forget our presidency, disregard him. How inexcusable, how political. or how shallow is the dearth of experience and knowledge of foreign policy and how it's conducted. Second, I also think that on the Democratic side as well as the Republican, there are those who are making decisions truly with having not been imbued with the experience of having worked with, understood, being in, or having studied the issues of foreign policy and military policy, and that is, quite frankly, dangerous for our nation's security. Think how many Republican Democrats voted for that tragic misadventure in Iraq. And now we have an opportunity, not a guarantee, but an opportunity to step aside from potential conflict with Iran. And yet there are those on both parties that say, cripple them with more sanctions. That'll make them hurt more, and we might get something more. Yeah, we may get something more, a war. That is why I believe we need somebodies in the Senate who have national security experience, understand militaries can stop a problem. Jeff, we just can't fix a problem permanently. Who thinks we fixed Iraq with our military?
Well, you've said it many times, and I think many people who serve in the military understand this. You don't solve problems just by defeating somebody on the battlefield. That's why diplomacy, and that's why this particular diplomatic effort by President Obama and Secretary Kerry, and in the case of Secretary Kerry, like yourself, has fought in wars. He understands what it's like to be shot at. He understands what it's like to lose your best friend. And, you know, I just think there's so many people, and there are some that have actually fought on the other side that have been bamboozled. Some have been basically just paid off by some in the military-industrial complex. And I just think that it is really sad that we focus only on ways to eliminate the opponent, not work with the opponent. I mean, one of the great things I thought that President Obama said in 2007 in the debate in Chicago is that he will talk with his enemies. Ronald Reagan talked with his enemies. We've had history upon history of talking with our enemies. Doesn't mean we sell out. We're not doing Neville Chamberlain here. But the idea to have a agreement to continue to avoid a nuclear holocaust, the idea of getting China and Russia to back Iran and the United States to back Israel makes absolutely no sense in 2015. Your final thoughts, sir.
Yes, you said it well. Again, look, Ronald Reagan, he didn't trust the Soviet Union, but he understood that eventually he even said, we want to see all nuclear arms go away. Now, you do it incrementally, but he said trust but verify. I would say verify before you trust. I'm not saying we trust the Iranians on everything at all, but what we can do is through the means of inspect what you inspect. We can inspect and ensure that they're adhering to an agreement that actually sets us 1 year safer, as long as this treaty exists, from their ever being able to have a nuclear weapon capability. How can we not do that as long as we can verify what's going on? And if they cheat, we always have other options, just like we do today. But why use them today, our military, when we can potentially resolve this issue, maybe even permanently, by means other than war? Because if we did strike Iraq, the strike would be wide in depth, deep in depth, wide in scope, and it would make the aftermath of Iraq look like a cakewalk, Jeff.
I can only tell you, Congressman, I hope people that are listening to us now in the Democratic Senate understand this. And I hope people around the world, use a phrase that was very popular in this country and is not only in this country but around the world, give peace a chance. And that is all we are asking. I feel like a 1960s protester. But the fact is that that's what we're asking for. And I think it's a simple request. And if people don't give that a request, then I think that we are, unfortunately, becoming less of a first world nation. We are not thinking in that manner because first world nations don't want to blow up each other or create more opportunities for other countries to blow others up. Your final thoughts, sir.
The final one is there's no one who wants a stronger military to defend us than I do, having served out there with the youth of our nation where you always wanted to make sure they could do the job and come home. But to use them unwisely, needlessly, without giving peace a chance first, gets you to another Iraq. And that's why I support this agreement, to avoid that if we can.
Congressman Joe Sestak, go to joesestak.com. And if you're a Pennsylvania resident, vote for this man. Thank you, Congressman. All the best.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Right back with your calls after this timeout. You're tuned in to the Jeff Santos Show.